Okay, how's it going, guys? One of those really small little towns in the Algarve is called Alte. And we're heading off, hang on a second, and we're heading off to go and see Fiona. She lives there, and she's been in a couple of my other videos, like up in the Serra da Estrela. She's taken me cycling up a mountain, almost killed me, you know, not forcibly, but just with exhaustion. So yeah, she lives in Alte, and it'll be really nice to go and understand Alte from her perspective, because she knows it inside and out. Alte is due north of Olhos d'Água and Bolichem in the hills of the Algarve. If you dropped a straight line to the coast, it would be 16 kilometers north from the west end of Praia da Falésia, or more precisely, Praia do Barranco das Belharucas, a serene sandy beach with a backdrop of cliffs, plus sunbed rentals, lifeguards and refreshment vendors. The lives of Alte's 426 residents couldn't be more different than those who live on the beach. Alte feels like you've dropped way back into the 20th century Portugal. In a good way though, but it'll take you a good 40 minutes drive down to the beach. Access to Alte is limited to taxi or ride sharing and the bus line. Apparently, obviously a car as well, obviously. But apparently there are 5 buses a day to Lolé, but Vamos.pt was down when I was trying to verify this. Oops. Messinas is your closest town, or more commonly known, or sort of officially known as São Bartolomeu de Messinas. And if you can't get by with the mini markets in Alte, Continent grocery store in Messinas is a 15-minute drive away. To the east, Lolé is a 30-minute drive, but this doesn't mean that you'll lack restaurants. There are quite a few hidden gems scattered throughout the nearby villages. Restaurant Rosmaninho in Sarnadas to the northeast, Matua Vista near Paderna down south, Tasca de Luz in Monseco, which is down to the southeast. But let's dive into Alte and see exactly what's on offer right in the town. I was hoping to find Fiona working on her laptop inside, but I found Pedro, the owner. His grandfather originally had this cafe bike workshop back in the 50s, and Pedro has recently revived it. It's now one of the classic cycle stops in the Algarve, along with Velo Chic in Monchique. I had a hunt around for Fiona, and she was back in the cafe by the time I returned.
Oh, hi Nick.
Oh, hi.
Nice to see you.
How's it going?
Very good.
Let's go.
Is it Pedro?
Yeah, Pedro.
Ah, how's it going?
It's good.
Good.
Yeah.
What is this?
This is a galão made late, fig in almond, and the cookie
Bolacha
is
de alfarroba.
bolacha de alfarroba. Carob cake. Okay.
Obrigado.
Another level of difficulty.
I had a couple of more difficulty to the
It's called a bolacha de alfarroba.
Now that our Portuguese lesson is over, I can tell you about Fiona's company called Paradise Cycling Tours. She guides and leads cycling tours all over the country, with many of the tours being based in Alte itself. As a result, she brings a fair bit of business to the town, and they love her, not just for that, but because she's an all-round pleasant lady. She took me for a walk and showed me around Alte. So here's a little tour of Alte. Now, we're looking north, and you can see the N124 road, which loops around this area of the Algarve, connecting Silves to Messinas, to Alte, to Benafim, to Salir, and then the N2 connects down to São Brás de Alportel. All right, you got it. It's a great Great circular route to go and drive. Actually, it's really pretty. Okay, now let's zoom down and back to the N124 going through Alte. We're passing the two major grocery stores in town, Coviran on the right and the Spar on the left. There are a couple of merceerias, which are smaller grocery stores on the other side of town. Heading up this way, we have a few restaurants flanking the upper road, most notably O Folklore, Terra d'Alte, and the wonderful Doceria Aguamel. Let's dive into that because I had a coffee there the next morning. Some important places in Alte are the church, with 3 or 4 cafes around the church, but we'll get into more detail about the church later. The Centro Saúde, or government hospital, Junta de Freguesia, which is the seat of local government, the Farmácia, where you can get it's a chemist, basically, you get all the drugs you need, the museum, which changes from time to time on exactly what exhibitions they have, Alte Tradition Guest House, where Fiona's actually had her people staying there at the time, and the school. They have an EB1, a Escola Básica 1, which includes a preschool, so that caters for kids from age 3 to 9. And they're a noisy little bunch, but they're wonderful. Let's take a quick flight over the church. You can see right here where the cafe is at the bottom, which you can't really see. Down to the right, down that road, there's the museum. And as we're flying over, you can see that blue strip, which is the school. And just to the right of that, with the solar panels, is the Alte Tradition Guest House. As we're going down here, you can see the little green square in the bottom of this road. That's the Farmácia, or the chemist. And let's zoom on over past the school and straight towards... We're heading towards that little church, which is one of the original old churches. But let's go on to what is probably one of the most beautiful attractions of the whole of Alte. So, Fiona, why do people do this?
So this is, in Portuguese, to enfeitar a aldeia, or basically like festivalize the village.
Festivalize?
Well, if that's a word.
It is, you just made it up,
So
it's brilliant.
It's been Easter not that long ago. These will be left over from Easter, just to make the village look prettier.
Ah, so you think it kills the trees?
No. So that over there is an auditorium. They put a big stage up here and dancing and theatre or whatever it is, music, and people sit up there and watch it.
And what festivals do you have? I mean, you have that BTT thing on the 25th of April.
Yeah, and during the same week we have the Semana Cultural here in Alte, and that has loads of stuff, loads of acts, music, singing, folklore dancing, people selling arts and crafts. It's a really nice week.
Duas cervejas, faz favor.
Obrigada.
Obrigado. Super book, para sempre.
Cheers! Soda.
Oh, wow, that's good. This Praia Fluvial, or river beach, is not an official one, but people swim in it throughout the summer as it's fed by mountain aquifers. Now, the only official Praia Fluvial in the Algarve is in Alcotim, on the Guadiana River, on the Portuguese border, the Portuguese-Spanish border on the east. And as you may know, river beaches are a big deal in Portugal. The Alte River flows down through the village and over the Queda do Vigário, where many people flock to the grassy banks and swim in the pool below the waterfall. Sadly, the events building there has fallen into disrepair with like broken windows and litter all around, and is generally in a pretty sad state. I really hope that they clean it up before summer, because I was a bit shocked, to be honest, saddened. However, it's still an amazing place, with the remnants of 9 watermills still visible on the banks of the river. Alte is a typical rural town in the Algarve, famous for its cobblestone streets or calçada, whitewashed buildings, and its chimneys. Now, traditionally, the church is a central point of any town in Portugal, and its history stands tall. The first church built on this site was in the 13th century, just after the Christians had expelled the Moors from Portugal. Then, at the start of the 16th century, it was rebuilt in the Manueline style, named after King Manuel, who reigned from 1495 to 1521. And that was like the proper age of discoveries. You can still see the main west-facing facade, which has a fine doorway with carved stone architraves, which seal the gap between the door and the walls. It's definitely worth waiting for the church to open, generally around 10:30 on most days, to see the nave and the chancel, which is the area around the main altar, because it's decorated with these incredible 18th century tiles, and the decorations inside the church are fantastic. It's really worthwhile. We're sitting here chatting to Fiona, obviously, because we're walking around Alte with Fiona. And we just want to ask you a couple of questions about what life is like living here, because not many people live here. I mean, if you come to the Algarve, you generally go and live on the coast, right? And you chose something different. Why would you do that?
Well, there's so many reasons. So many reasons. I lived in Lollet before, and I wanted to move because I wanted a bigger house. So my personal journey was, I had a small budget, and I wanted a garden and a view and a couple of bedrooms, and I wasn't afraid of a renovation. But basically my budget didn't stretch to anywhere around Lollet or south. So,
and this was like 10 years ago or 5 years ago?
This was actually only 4 years ago that I started looking. And I knew Alte anyway because of the bike cafe, and I'm a cyclist, so I'd passed by Alte so many times. I knew Pedro from the bike cafe. And one of my...
So you came for Pedro?
I came for Pedro, don't tell Anna that.
Yeah, I guess Anna's his wife.
And there was a few other non-negotiables that I was keen to get, like a walking distance of a shop, a cafe, a restaurant, you know, these things. Walkable house. And so, well, I had a very long list of everything that I wanted, ideally, you know. And I also wanted to be great for cycling. So for me, living up in the hills didn't frighten me at all, because as a cyclist, I already knew it. I knew these hills, I knew the roads, I knew the tracks so well already. And in fact, it was Pedro that then showed me the house that I then have since bought and renovated. And I haven't looked back. It's amazing.
Okay, cool. But why are we selecting Alte? Surrounding Alte, there's Messinas just over there, and there's Benzafim or Benafim? Benafim, which is just down that way. What else is around here?
Padern.
Padern's beautiful.
Padern's really nice.
So Alte is obviously much more beautiful, and it's an historical town. It's been restored by the EU and all that kind of stuff. Right?
Yeah, I guess if I'd found the right house in any of those other places, I might have considered it. but Alt was definitely on the top of my list after Lollet to live, partly because of the cycling connection for me. But once you're here, you've seen already, it's such a nice vibe. We've got the art. It's beautiful because there aren't any power lines. I don't know whether you've noticed that, but they've all been buried.
That was the EU money that came and did that.
Okay, that, once I realised and once you notice, you're like, oh my gosh. And then the view from my house is like unspoilt because of that. There's no power lines blocking it.
But it's so beautiful. It reminds me of Aldeia de Pedralva, which we went to a couple of weeks ago, if you guys have been watching. Which is this, they bought a whole village and turned it into a hotel.
Oh, wow.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
But this is real. There's people
Exactly, this is real, it's not fake. And there's actually a lot of doer-uppers still here.
We were walking around Alt and we saw this little place for 70,000. I mean, it's really small, but you could probably do an Airbnb there. So you just come along, buy it and just fix it up and then rent it out. But you were saying it's an amazing place to live.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I always say this, it suits me perfectly. I honestly don't think I could have chosen somewhere that suits me better. It's right in nature, the walking's amazing, the running, we've got the pools that I'm sure you'll show the viewers. We've got the waterfall. I mean, there's just so much here. If you like nature, there's a lot to offer. But it's so close to everything else as well. I feel that there's such a nice community. You don't have to plan to see friends. You just go down to the bar or the cafe and everyone's there. And I don't know, maybe some people wouldn't necessarily like to see the same people all the time.
I was going to say, is there a flip side to that? Because everybody knows everybody else's business.
Well, yeah, a little bit, but then you can have a bit of fun with that. It doesn't matter to me. I don't care what people think or what people know about me. I've got nothing to hide anyway. And I don't know, I think that's like village life all over the world is the same thing.
Absolutely. But I mean, I remember speaking to a lady who was cutting my hair and she was in a very small town in Algarve. And she's like, I just have to go to Villarreal Sant Antonio, which is the other side of the Algarve, to get away from this small town, itchiness.
But I'm sure as a hairdresser, she probably sees the worst of it. Maybe there's probably a lot of gossip in a hairdressing salon. Maybe more than I'd see. I don't know.
Because you're basically working all the time anyway.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm hearing the.
If you think about it from our audience's point of view, like you're basically coming from across the Atlantic or across from England, and you may be a little bit older, and you want to come and retire here.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful place to retire. How quickly can you get down to any kind of civilization?
Well, it depends what you mean by civilization.
I
call this civilization. But if you want to go, like Lollet is 20 minutes, Messinge is 12 minutes. And then if you want to get to the coast, the quickest is like 35. Olhos d'Água, Vilamora area, 35 minutes. Continent, Intermarché in Messinge.
Okay.
Yeah, 15
so grocery
minutes
stores
max.
there,
Yeah, but we've got two here as well, two little ones, enough for what you'd need day to day. We've got everything here. And also the cool thing is we've got the bread man and the fish man that come around beeping and selling you bread and fish and all of that, which is so cool. Like, I love that part of life.
The vegetables here, then, are they really good? Because a friend of mine just said that she goes to these small little merceerias instead, and they're because they're all organically homegrown.
So good. They're so good. And I don't know, it's part of village life too, I'm sure in other places, but I'll go home and have a bag of lemons on my doorstep or cake or, things like that. People here have been so welcoming to me. And I know I speak Portuguese and I know I bring, work to a lot of the locals because of my job. But I know plenty of other people who've moved here. If, for example, I've got one couple, Americans, that have just moved here. They're actually my age. So they're unusual demographic. In fact, they've just had a baby. And they don't speak a whole load of Portuguese, but they've settled in great. And they've just got a great, very chilled attitude. They're very calm people. They don't want the big city life anyway. This is perfect for them. And the lady, she's gone to the free Portuguese lessons that you can have at the school here. Oh, cool. So if you're a resident here, you get free lessons, and it was 3 months of 3 times a week for 3 hours. So it's intense, but by the end of that, she spoke really good Portuguese. And so that's a really good way in to get a little bit more comfortable with being here somewhere a bit more rural.
You have to learn it.
You don't have to, but it's so much better if you do.
Okay, sorry, I should rephrase that. It's much more, I always say this, that it's, you don't have to, but it helps a lot and you integrate a lot better.
You'll enjoy life so much better.
Like, I was just walking down the road now and there were a couple of cars and there's a lady walking past me and I said, muito trânsito, like there's lots of traffic, and sort of being a little bit funny. And she loves it. She's like, oh, yeah, sometimes. And,
Yeah,
and
exactly. It's the small interactions. Even if you can just do that,
and everyone
it goes
greets
a long
each
way.
other in the streets. And
Yeah.
it's a good old-fashioned living, isn't it?
Yeah, it feels like there's still a lot of that here, and I don't know. It's small things about. There's a lot of sharing still. Like I said, of like the lemons or the cake, or whatever. There's people who grow their own vegetables and will just share all amongst us. And there's still a lot of that in the village. That's so nice.
A lot of community feel, huh?
Yeah.
Is there like a market or somewhere where people?
There actually is. It's I can't remember. It's once a month in down opposite this little supermarket. There's a market area. I'll show you later.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
No, because there's only 426 people that I think in Alt that I've figured out from my website.
Yeah,
I've found.
That's crazy.
It's crazy, yeah. It's one of the smallest towns in the Algarve.
Yeah, and I think I might be wrong. I'm pretty sure that was maybe double or triple, maybe 50 years ago, 60 years ago, when all of the ruins were actually occupied and they had lots of families in.
Sure, yeah.
It would have been a different place back then. It would have been interesting to go back.
But it feels full and it feels like a working town. Like if you go into central Portugal, like you do a lot as well. I mean, those towns are abandoned and there's like maybe one family or two families left.
Yeah. That was another reason that I wanted to come here, was probably for me at the time when I bought it, which was 2021, Alt was maybe on the edge of that, like a couple of valleys north, and you're on the edge of depopulation still for sure in those villages, and that's not far away at all. But Alt felt like it was still attracting people. There was still a lot going on. Even since I've been here 3.5 years now, there's been a couple of places open and a new restaurant open. We've just had a new pizzeria open like last week.
Wow.
And that feel is really nice. To be on that trajectory, you feel like you're going in a good direction.
Well, thank you so much, Fiona, for your time. It really was amazing to see Alt, and I hope you guys enjoyed seeing Alt. It's a fantastic little village. Next week, we're going to go and see a new village pretty close there called Paderne. So that will be exciting too. And as always, if you need any help relocating to the Algarve, give us a call on or get in touch with us through algarveaddicts.com. See you next week. algarveaddicts.com. We'll see you next week, but if you need any help relocating to the Algarve, click through to our website, algarveaddicts.com. We offer tours, immigration assistance, long-term rentals, and we can buy you a house.